Thank you.
So you might wonder why it is that the direct hire workers like Denise are so concerned with the temp workers, but I just want to emphasize again, these are people who work side by side with us every single day, and I think I speak for a lot of the Hyatt workers in saying that these are people that we consider part of our real family and part of our real community. And so I want to invite Mike Jones to come up and tell you the story of one of the temp workers that he worked with.
Mike, come up. And then we're bringing up Regina.
Good evening, everybody.
What do you do for the Hyatt? What do you do for the Hyatt?
I'm a steward and slash dishwasher.
Okay.
My name is Michael Jones, and I've been a lifelong resident of Baltimore City, and I've been for Hyatt for about 11 years now. But I'm not here to talk about myself. I'm here to talk about a friend of mine named Avery. Avery worked alongside me in stewarding. We washed the same floors, we mopped the same floors, we swept the same floors, we washed the same dishes, and he was even in my department. We even had the same type of uniform. But the only thing that Avery was only getting paid like $2 less than me, and it wasn't because he was like not skilled in his job or anything. It was because he was a temp. See, Avery applied for our position in stewarding, and we were rallied behind him applying for it. But every time when he went and applied, they always told him that this position is filled or we're not hiring at this time, but yet he was a temp. So it's like eventually in our department, Avery was working and he started getting frustrated more and more and more. So then as time went on, they took Avery and had him working in CS4 watch, which is conventional services. The Hyatt is supposed to gave public money, and they gave public money so that basically the workers will have a better foundation to work, which means like if you're a temp, you should be able to work full time. But unfortunately, Avery, he kept going and going until finally he's no longer working there. So I'm trying to put this the best way I can. Well, in our department of stewarding, a temp, we can have them working a full 8 hours with us. Sometimes work longer. And there was times, yes, there was times when Avery, sometimes, yes, or sometimes Avery,
40 hours a week, 5 days?
A good 40 hours.
Overtime for the temps?
Yes, sometimes, but they wouldn't even pay him overtime.
They pay them straight time?
Yes.
How do you do that?
They actually did it sometimes. There's been times when I came into work and Avery would be working from 10 to 6, but they would have him stay over to work another shift.
Now, do the regular employees get overtime, time and a half, or?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, yes. So Avery just kept working and working to try to work full time because he has a son. And he was trying to provide for his son, but unfortunately, it's to the point now where Avery don't even work there anymore. So at the Hyatt, here at Hyatt Baltimore, we haven't called for a boycott at all. But if things don't go as well as they should, as we're trying to help the temps, then we will have no choice but to call for a national global boycott. I hope I said this right.
So what happened to Avery?
Avery, the last time I talked to him, he just basically told me, he said, Mike, I just got tired, man, because I just kept putting in applications, just kept telling me no. And there was many a time that me and other workers actually rallied behind Avery, and we went into the office to talk to our manager about hiring full time. And they kept telling them, we ain't hiring. But we said, how can you not hire him and you call him down here every day? Y'all actually losing money by calling him down here every day when you just hire him full time.
Councilman Scott has a question for you.
Yes, sir.
It's real easy. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for your
No problem.
But just out of curiosity, where in the city did you live?
I live on East Baltimore, North Dallas Street on North Avenue.
I was happy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, for sharing.
Thank you.
So the second issue that the resolution addresses is the issue of labor peace. As we've established, the city owns the Hyatt Regency and therefore has the right to protect the investment from ill effects of a labor dispute. Since the workers at Hyatt went public with their organizing campaign 9 months ago, Hyatt has responded in ways that have escalated the labor dispute. Several large picket lines have been held, and this past summer, Hyatt fired 4 union supporters. The firings, along with other actions that Hyatt took to more strictly enforce their attendance policies, resulted in Hyatt being prosecuted by the General Counsel of the National Labor Relations Board. After more than a week of trial this past January, Hyatt settled that case by returning 3 of the workers to work and paying a significant cash settlement to a 4th worker who had already found another job. Obviously, these expenses that the Hyatt's incurring through having this labor dispute are already cutting in to the city's profit sharing. And now there's the risk of, if we can't, we'd like to settle this dispute, and as the workers have said, we'd like to see that happen, but we are at a point of, there's a global boycott of Hyatt that's been called, and we have not yet joined this boycott because we wanted to give Hyatt time to resolve this dispute in Baltimore before it escalates to the point where it would negatively impact the city's revenue. However, if Hyatt takes no steps to resolve this dispute in the near future, we will need to make the decision to join the global boycott. And it doesn't have to be this way. The city has a history of protecting its interest in a city-owned hotel. When the city built the Hilton Baltimore, it asked the Hilton to sign a labor peace agreement with the industry unions, which Hilton did. And in that way, those workers were able to have a process to decide on unionization that never resulted in any kind of dispute at all. And that's what we're asking Hyatt to do, is to live up to that same level of responsibility that the Hilton had. And I want to introduce Regina Davis, who's an on-call banquet server, to talk a little bit more about why she's in this labor dispute and why we're considering this step of taking a boycott.
Welcome, Regina. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Regina Davis, and I'm an on-call banquet server at the Hyatt Regency here in Baltimore. I've been working there for approximately 3 years. Working as an on-call banquet server is something I enjoy doing. I love serving the guests as well as seeing smiles on their faces. But how does the Hyatt expect us as workers to come to work happy when we are being underpaid and overworked by doing the jobs of 3 people? I strongly believe that by corporations allowing one person to do the job of 3 people, it not only affects that worker, but the city as a whole. Those are 2 additional jobs that people in my community could have. People in Baltimore want to work, but these corporations either won't hire them, or when they do, they are part-time temporary jobs. Baltimore is a beautiful city, and it has great people here in the city. But when people don't have jobs, they turn to alternative means to survive. When they don't have full-time jobs, they cannot get the benefits they need. Right now, a change needs to be made in the city of Baltimore. I believe making a change at the Hyatt will be the starting point for changing the whole city. We can make a difference so hardworking people can be paid what they deserve to be paid, so people can work one job that pays them enough to raise their families and still give them time to give their children the attention they need. I'm tired of hearing people saying they want to leave the city of Baltimore. I want people to believe in their city again and to have hope that Baltimore has a future. With all of that being said, all we ask is for the Hyatt to allow us to have a fair process. There has not been a boycott call of the Hyatt Regency in Baltimore, but there is a global boycott. And I don't think the city wants to lose any revenue. But if Hyatt doesn't respect our wishes, we may decide that our next option is to join the global boycott. You have the power to do what's right by Hyatt workers and the city of Baltimore by passing this resolution. Thank you. Say that again.
Did you want to submit that testimony to the bill file?
Sure.
Okay. Would you want to type it up?
I'll retype it and give it to Tracy.
Bring that on the bill file.
Okay. Is that on?
Father Ty Hullinger from St. Anthony. Unfortunately, I'm told his name was St. Francis. Instead of St. Anthony. He's been in Sissy on Harvard Road. That's St. Anthony on Franklin Avenue. Welcome, Father Ty.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Curran. Actually, I'm also pastor of St. Dominic's in your district, and 2 parishes in Councilmember Scott's district. I'm here tonight as pastor of the Catholic Churches of St. Anthony of Padua, St. Dominic, and Most Precious Blood churches in Northeast Baltimore City.
You have Most Precious Blood too?
Most Precious Blood as well.
No.
Bully's Lane. And I'm here tonight to declare my full support for the Baltimore Labor Peace Resolution that has been introduced and now is moving from committee to the floor. I urge you to pass this resolution, which you have, again, the entire council is either sponsored or co-sponsored onto. You know how the Hyatt Regency Baltimore has failed to abide by its agreements to the City of Baltimore, to you, to all of us, to provide their workers a living wage, full-time employment, and the right to freely form a union to secure these or other labor agreements for themselves. You have every right, and in fact you now have the obligation, to demand that Hyatt honor their agreements to these workers of Baltimore by treating them with the respect and the dignity that they deserve. I'm here tonight to say very clearly that Catholics and people of all faiths in Baltimore and around the country will fully support these Hyatt workers if they call for a boycott or if they seek other action to secure their rights to fair employment practices, which include a living wage, which includes full-time employment, the right to organize and form a union of workers free from intimidation by companies or corporations in what is supposed to be by law a totally neutral process. I'm here tonight because this is more than just about honoring a neighborly agreement or a handshake agreement between a city and a corporation. This is about honoring and respecting fundamental human rights, and as we've learned, local, state, and federal laws, labor laws, that are meant to protect workers from abuse, manipulation, intimidation, and exploitation. I don't know about many of you, but yesterday was a momentous day for me and people of my faith, with the election of Cardinal Jorge Bergoglio, who was Archbishop of Buenos Aires in Argentina, now as Pope Francis. I think that moment in time has huge implications for what has happened here and what will continue to happen here in this chamber. We are already learning about how our new Pope has a deep concern for and commitment to the poor and to workers. I found by discovering a BBC News article, for instance, that in 2001, workers in Argentina, public service workers, were locked in an intense labor struggle. And in the midst of a 2-day strike, Cardinal Bergoglio offered publicly his support and encouragement to those workers and offered a mass that they celebrate every year. The BBC reported that on Tuesday, that would have been August 7th, 2001, up to 100,000 Argentines gathered at the Church of San Cayetano in Buenos Aires to pray for jobs. Speaking at the church dedicated to that saint, the patron saint of work and bread, Cardinal Jorge Bergoglio spoke of the contrast between poor people who are persecuted for demanding work and rich people who are applauded for fleeing from justice. When I read that statement of the Cardinal, now Pope Francis, I thought of what these workers have been saying now for well over a year. They, like those poor people in Argentina in 2001, today in 2013, they're being persecuted for demanding work. And rich people, rich corporations are sometimes applauding themselves or being applauded for fleeing from justice. We have now a pope we've always had popes that have acknowledged the fundamental injustices that economic disparities create. This pope, as he contrasts these poor people persecuted for demanding justice or demanding work, rich people applauded for fleeing from justice, well, I think it suggests to us that if we really truly want labor peace in Baltimore, then we must be the peacemakers, and most importantly, you will be peacemakers, seeking justice for people who are demanding work with good and fair conditions. Poverty, we know that poverty wages, temporary work, union avoidance, and union-busting activities and actions, these are never consistent with fair, just, and peaceable working conditions. There won't be peace as long as those things exist. I think we can no longer ignore that huge contrast between the worker who demands work, and the rich who are applauded from fleeing from justice that impacts those workers. We have the opportunity now to do everything we can to ensure labor peace in Baltimore City. I'm just here to say that I know that all of our faith traditions in Baltimore impel us to all consider ourselves to be peacemakers in whatever way we can, with whatever skills and opportunities we have. You have had that opportunity to be a peacemaker. That's our choice now, to do what we can to secure such peace. But I think we also understand that peace will only be achieved when there's fairness and justice, when Hyatt no longer applauds itself or is applauded for fleeing from justice for its workers. And when workers like these that we referred to tonight in Baltimore, like those who labor at the Hyatt, are no longer persecuted for demanding work, which is their God-given and divine right. Thank you for moving this legislation forward. Please pass this resolution together as a body as quickly as you can, so labor peace may be found.
I want to thank you for your service to
It is.
Did you want to submit a copy? You wish, for the record?
We should have made him the pope.
And I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your service along with Joe Booth and Bill Burke to us in the Roman Catholic Faith of Northeast Baltimore. Thank you very much. Call. Are you testifying today? Okay. Tessa Hill?
I'm Tessa Hill, Aston, President of Baltimore City NAACP. As you all know, NAACP is in partnership with labor here in Baltimore and all over the whole United States. We do not do anything without participating in strength with the labor movement. For the past 6 or 7 months, as Unite Here has gone to the Hyatt for rallies and meetings, we, the NAACP from Baltimore City, have stood with them, and we've rallied with them, and we met with management with them, with Mary Pat Clark and with the king here, Mr. Ernie Greco. And I'm honored to be here to stand with the employees because I go to the Hyatt a lot. The NAACP has had events there, and I have been there as a customer. And some of the people sitting here have waited on me. I have been there when we had our annual Freedom Fund banquet there in October. And some of the people here, and the young lady who just spoke, Regina, was in the room and helped to serve my guests at the NAACP, over 700 or 800 people. And she did it with a smile. And so when you talk about people working at a hotel and they're doing their work and they're working overtime, they need to get paid for it. I am a product of working in a hotel. I mentioned Mr. Ernie Greco. I worked at the old Emerson Hotel when I was in high school. So those of you who remember that hotel, I worked at a hotel. So I know. No, it was right on Charles, where the Charles Street sub stop, right there. Yeah, that was further up. I worked at the Emerson Hotel, a very classic, historic hotel. And so I understand the hours you put in, I understand the work, and for those people who work in the service of getting tips, it is always important to tip people. So number one, we need to support the work that they do, and any hotel, including the Hyatt, needs to live up to the agreements that are written, that the employees work well and with a smile on their face, and that they feel better at the end of the week when they get paid for what they have done with a smile and delivering customer service to the customers. Now, NAACP will continue to work with Unite Here and support the employees. That's what we do. And I will not in good faith can have any event if the unions tell me not to. When we did the event in November, I had already got into an agreement with the Hyatt. I'm glad that we held the event there, but I went to the union and I asked them for their permission to continue because I would not go against the union or the employees that serve us. So the NAACP is in support of what needs to happen here, and we will continue to stand, and I hope it's resolved so we don't have to do more, but we're standing strong. Thank you. Yes. I was like to ask my second question. There was what?
We use 3 sheets on the back.
Leave 3 sheets up here?
No.
Oh, yes, it was the same thing, because back when I worked in the hotel, it was no, it wasn't the little crinkles, what is it? The tuck, it wasn't that kind. It was always, I don't know what the rationale reason. I can understand the goodness of helping for a person to move faster. I have a relative who just retired from the Hyatt who worked there for a long, long time. And I know that she said that it's very cumbersome to do that. I understand the cuteness of it because I read hotel magazines and it looks cute to do the tuck in the tuck in the tuck. So I understand why it looks pretty to do that, but I can understand now that the people who work in the rooms, I didn't work in the room, I did food service. I waited tables. and which was fun because during that time downtown there was no fast food, so all the people in city council, all the law firms came and they had to eat, and then I made tips, so it was good for me. But saying that, I do know because of relatives that have worked at hotels that years ago you had a smaller amount of rooms because you had small amounts. The hotels were smaller. So if someone doesn't come to work and someone calls out sick and you get double duty, then you're doing double bending and you're doing double everything. You know, some of us have the pleasure of sitting and we still rip and run, but when you do the kind of work that you have to bend over, move your back, pick up dishes, do the mattress, it's a lot of work, and people need to be respected and paid for that. I have the kind of sheets you're talking about, I have those at home.
I just wanted to recognize and thank some of the other unions that are here to support us today. Bruce Hoffman's here from IATSE. Thank you for being here.
What union is that?
The National Electric State.
Okay.
Right, they do all the lighting, the electricity, all for events. Also, City Union of Baltimore, Mr. Post here, and also the International Union of Operating Engineers. So we want to thank them all for being here.
Baltimore County Public.
And also the Baltimore County Public Employees.
The next name I can't quite read, but the last name is Davis, and they're from Shorties. All right. I can't read the first name. Are you are Shorty?
That is Shorty. You would have wished he was from Davis.
Hi, my name is Duane Davis. I'm the owner.
Okay.
I'm the owner and proprietor of Shorty's Pit Beef and Ribs. I'm a private chef and a caterer.
Okay.
I do events at the Hyatt. I do events at all of the major hotels down here when they do fundraisers, Johnny United, Stepping Out Foundation, things of that nature. I run a nonprofit organization for kids and ex-felons, and it's hard enough for us to get jobs. You know, I've been blessed to be self-employed, but for somebody that just came out of jail, need a job, hotels is an avenue for us to employ these people, and it's a basis. And for us to get a better standing in the community, to atone for what we did in the past, we need jobs, we need work, and we need to be not held with that X on our back when we go to look for a job at the Hyatt, at the Hilton, or in these places downtown. We need jobs, and this is a place where I came. I was asked from some of the workers to come here to participate because I'm a professional activist.
Very well spoken.
And I'm gonna support them on anything that they do. Most of the time when they protest, I show up. I bring a toilet. And if you got housekeeping, they clean toilets. So we share a common denominator here.
What kind of cuisine does Shorty serve?
I do pit beef, and I'm a private chef. I do barbecue, pit beef, ribs, turkey, ham.
Is Chef back up there on Harvard Road?
No, you heard of Shorty's Pit Beef at Green Spring Station, Falls Road, Padonia Road, Mount Carmel? That's me. No, because of my situation, I had to give up my business. So now I'm self-employed and I'm a private chef. And I'm dealing with some issues, and we're going to talk about them in a minute.
Thanks for sharing that.
All
right. I guess Baker Best here. Is that your name first?
Yeah.
Best is your last name.
Best is my last name, Baker is my first name.
Okay. You're going to read that to see us?
I'm sorry?
Is that what we so far out?
No, that's part of the presentation. Okay. Good morning, Honorable Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark and Councilman Robert Kern. And I'm sure you're familiar with these, the binoculars. And as you can see, I have the dial all turned to my far left. And of course, when you look through it, your vision is...
mustache needs to be shaved, huh?
I'm sorry?
Mustache needs to be shaved.
Well, yes, I can, but it's a little distorted. And as I turn the dial further and further to the right, you're crystal clear, and I can see everyone. They come right into focus. Now, if I adjust the dial further to the right, of course, we go back to a distorted image.
If you reverse it, then we look like we're out there on
Well, it's distorted, it's blurry either way. It just has to be a delicate balance. And which leads me to the notion leads me to the notion of how, just like binoculars, by turning your focus to the extreme one way or the other, you tend to lose sight of what it is you're viewing. With the local Unite Here faction of Unite Here Local 7 turning the dial of the Hyatt Regency Baltimore and the hospitality industry to the far and extreme right or left to maneuver its way into our fair hotel will result in a future of decreased business, lower morale, and further discord and other inherent problems. My name is Baker Z. Best, and just this past October, I have achieved a phenomenal 25 years I have achieved a phenomenal 25 years of experience with the Hyatt Regency's Food and Beverage Department. It has been a productive and fun 25 years, and if things were as bad as Unite Here Local 7 were spinning them out to be, do you think that I would be obliged to have hung around for as long as I have for like a quarter of a century? I think not. How I was able to achieve this was by maintaining my own personal focus and by maintaining my own personal focus on hospitality towards the guests of our hotel, consistency, and the pursuit of excellence, which I am the cornerstones of the industry, and I am encouraged to practice on a daily basis. Surely any business, no matter what the entity, has its inherent problems, but not to the extent or as much as Unite Here Local 7 is forging them out to be, obscuring everyone's focus until the only thing visible is them and their delusionary cause. To the point where the hotel and its administration within, such as the hotel security department, are restricted in doing their jobs due to paranoia, fictitious charges of surveillance, accompanied by the union's occasional protests outside the front of our hotel, along with other obnoxious and outrageous behaviors. In an effort to shame and embarrass the Hyatt into giving into and allowing them inroads into our organization. But it is not about them. To be truthful, for that matter, it's not about the Hyatt either. It's all about money, greed, if you will. I myself, being among the working class, work very hard for the wages I earn. And I am diligent in managing them. In order to keep up with finances, such as bills and groceries, and the ever-rising cost of living. Now I ask you, do you honestly think it fair, once the members of the union are within the midst of the Hyatt Regency Hotel, that I be forced to contribute to the further lining of the pockets of these individuals earning well over 6 figures plus expenses along with other monetary gains? To use a popular vernacular, I don't think so. And to that effect, I would like to present for your consideration, it's entitled The Union Faction, Unite Here, Leaders, Employees and Salaries, which can corroborate.
You want to have it?
Sure. Well, which can corroborate that I'm sorry. Salaries, well, and I'll read you gross salaries, benefits, and other compensations.
Okay. Other compensations.
By individuals?
Oh, these are the higher ups. These aren't the folks in this chamber here tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Well, some of them are here also.
I see Roxy made the list, but I know she earns every penny she makes.
It is to the point where all the joy of what I do for the guests at Hyatt is being overshadowed by the controversy surrounding the union's avarice endeavors, to the point I just want to say, go away, please. You're not welcome. Enough is enough. Stop looking for gremlins in an already well-oiled and perfectly working machine. I'm tired of the union representatives and their followers coming to my place of residence time and time again after I've told them more than a dozen times that I'm not interested, and for them never to darken my doorway ever again. This, of course, was ignored. I'm tired of the union representatives ambushing me whenever I leave my apartment. Once again, my wishes were ignored and I was forced to have local law enforcement get involved. I'm tired of being accosted on the street whenever I leave or enter the hotel to come to work. Don't get me wrong, I understand these individuals have certain rights, but we can't ignore the other half of the equation. I have rights also. And I have the right to say no to the unionization of the Hyatt Regency of Baltimore and hope that the Unite Here Local 7 will get the message and leave our hotel alone. And I also hope that you, Councilwoman Clark and Councilman Curran, that you will see my point and use your wisdom to see the truth in all of this and not force the Hyatt to give in to these malcontents. With the focus of our attention on a few disgruntled individuals with an axe to grind, fueled and backed by an outside union entity with nothing but worldly incentive of dollar signs to spur them on, skewing everyone's point of view from the rights of the majority who come to work and do their jobs with dignity and have the guts to stand up and say no to the union, to the rights of a few minority who are in order to get their way are willing to resort to a series of strong-arm tactics, petty accusations, lawsuits, all puppeteered to make a union rep richer, until eventually our focus, alas, will be so distorted, everyone involved will be left without a clear vision for the future.
Well, Mr. Best, you are certainly entitled to your opinion.
Okay. May God bless you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you.
I just want to say, hold on, folks. Everyone's entitled to the content. We're not entitled to the That's right. That's what the United States is all about. But unfortunately, I don't agree. I don't believe that the union movement over the history of this country has been the backbone of this great nation. And with that, I'm just making a comment.
To hear the other side, and
that's what we're here to do.
That's what I think is being construed is only one side is being heard. No one is coming to the Hyatt and actually asking, our staff. We'll gladly let them walk around and talk to the employees.
But may I just say one thing?
No. Thank you, Mr. Nash. Thank you. We're going to move on.
I'm not going to debate him, but he doesn't know what we're doing.
Commander James. Commander?
Right here.
Oh, you want to testify? You okay?
No.
He wants to testify. That will wrap up our proceedings. Welcome, Commander. You're going to have the last word today.
Good evening, council members. My name is James Commander from Local 33. I'm here to testify with the United Workers of Local 7. What I listened to and heard today was, to me, it's like a virus. The Hyatt created a virus in the city. The virus spreads around, and some people will be disillusioned. I listened to Mr. Beckett, Mr. Best. Well, I listened to what he said, and what he said was talking about himself. He makes enough money. The rest of them people don't make enough money. They treat him nice. He's been there for 25 years. Them other people been there for 10, 15 years. They're not getting treated good. But he wants you to believe one side of the story. But with a virus, it spreads. And I learned one thing, how we're going to stop this virus. And by standing together, getting together, straightening out things. He had a bunch of people, a list of people, but then nobody show up. The Hyatt didn't send nobody over here. So, but I realized they did send somebody. They sent him. They sent him here all by himself to fight for them. They got lawyers and everything. And all that stuff he said, how could he look around at all these people and don't realize they having a hard time to pay their bills? Ain't nobody got worried. They asked him. I'm pretty sure once they found out his attitude, you leave people, certain people alone. And I can see he's one of those people. But you know, all I'm saying is that y'all listen, and from what I can see, the Hyatt doing something wrong, because the city ain't been getting that. You just found out that that you own the Hyatt. You know, if I found out I own the Hyatt when I left here, I would be over there, because somebody owed the city some money. You know, yes, that's right, owe you some money. But I'm just testifying on behalf of the workers, because by us standing together, we're getting rid of the riots in the city, because these companies been coming here for a long time, and like I heard the gentleman say, Baltimore is on the rise, we're a tourist spot, and we need these jobs, not just for us, but for our kids and grandkids. And we have to start doing something now, and we here to straighten that out. All right.
We're having this second reader Monday. I want to thank Tracy and Roxy and our friends from 7, President Greco, our friends from all the unions that you represent, and the committee members that came in there and passed this resolution out. And I want to thank the gentleman that had the opinion on the other side. We need to have that discussion. We need to come forward with that. So I want to thank that gentleman for standing up here tonight, because I couldn't stand up here tonight, and you did. So I want to thank you for expressing your opinion too.
Thank you for allowing me to do that.
That's fine. This concludes the hearing of the Labor Committee. Thank you.
All right.